Năm 2026 là sẽ năm không tốt cho vàng và bạc. Thì ông có thể giải thích kỹ hơn về cái này được không ạ?
Gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum are very sensitive to liquidity. Holding these assets in a portfolio, but every time you see dips in their prices, to buy them. Buying them 20% or so below their normal levels is going to be a great opportunity.
Tại sao mà mua Bitcoin vào những năm nó yếu lại là một cái chiến lược tốt không ạ?
Gold only matches the increase in US debt. And that would say that the gold price is got to go from 5,000 to 10,000 to 50,000, 20,000, etc. This is strong gains in gold. Bitcoin is exactly the same.
2030 và một thập kỷ nữa đi là 2035 ạ, thì Bitcoin và vàng cái nào sẽ tăng nhanh hơn?
I would recommend holding both. My view is that Bitcoin will be the better asset.
Chào mọi người, đây là một cái phần mà tôi biết là không ai trong chúng ta thích cả. Tuy nhiên là nó sẽ giúp cho các bạn tạo ra một sự khác biệt to lớn cho cái kênh của chúng tôi và động viên cái team của chúng tôi có thể tạo ra nhiều nội dung giá trị hơn nữa. 71% những người thường xuyên theo dõi các nội dung trên các kênh của Nguyễn Đình Đức lại chưa hề ấn nút đăng ký. Mục tiêu của chúng tôi đó là đem đến những cái người tuyệt vời nhất, giỏi nhất trong các lĩnh vực để chia sẻ cùng với anh chị và các bạn. Vì vậy cho nên chúng tôi sẽ xây dựng những cái nội dung chất lượng hơn nữa, hoàn toàn miễn phí cũng như là cập nhật liên tục, giúp các bạn đưa đến quyết định chính xác trong kinh doanh và đầu tư của mình. Và vì vậy cho nên lần nữa tôi kêu gọi các bạn hãy ấn vào nút subscribe trước khi tiếp tục theo dõi cái nội dung trong video này.
Chúng tôi sẽ hỏi về vàng và bạc trước. Thì ông đã nói một cái thông tin mà chúng tôi rất là quan tâm là ông nghĩ rằng là năm tới là sẽ không quá tốt cho vàng và bạc. Tất nhiên là ông nói là 5 năm là sẽ tốt đúng không ạ? Nhưng mà năm 2026 là sẽ năm không tốt cho vàng và bạc. Thì ông có thể giải thích kỹ hơn về cái này được không ạ?
Yes. Gold and silver are very sensitive assets to liquidity. Okay. So you look at this chart, what it shows is the sensitivities on the left of different asset classes to liquidity. And what it's saying is that those on the left, gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, are very sensitive to liquidity. So if the trend in liquidity is strong, these will be good, very positive. But if the cycle goes down, then not so good. So what we're saying is, if you can we go on to the wave cycle that we saw? So if you look at this cycle, this is the cycle, and the cycle's at a peak. So if you look at how markets have performed, look at the dates of this cycle. So this is the cycle of global liquidity. Now, the black line is our estimates of the flow of money through world financial markets, and the dotted line is a fitted sine wave on top. And that sine wave averages 65 months, or about 6 years, 5 to 6 years. This cycle began in late 2022. So that was the bottom of the cycle. And it's moving up, and it was slated to peak in the middle to late 2025. And that's what it seems to be doing. So we're seeing this inflection. And it may well be that it continues to go down in 2026. So despite the fact the trend in liquidity is very strong, there's a cycle on top. And this cycle is telling us that those very sensitive assets to liquidity, gold, silver, etc., are likely, Bitcoin, are likely to have a tougher year this year. Now, we may be wrong, of course, but our view is that they're going to be tougher. And already you're seeing Bitcoin finding it hard to make new highs. Now, what I would be doing is I would be holding these assets in a portfolio. I would not be chasing their prices, but every time you see dips in their prices, to buy them, because you know we're in a cycle and you know there's a long-term trend. So buying them 20% or so below their normal levels is going to be a great opportunity. I don't think it's good this year, but I think it's a good opportunity to buy.
I got it. Câu hỏi tiếp theo, vâng ạ, chúng ta sẽ dừng chủ đề vàng ở đây, tức là ngắn hạn thì có thể đi xuống nhưng mà 5 năm sẽ đi lên. Cả vàng và Bitcoin là như vậy. Cho tôi hỏi ông có thể giải thích rõ hơn là tại sao mà mua Bitcoin vào những năm nó yếu lại là một cái chiến lược tốt không ạ? Ông có thể giải thích kỹ hơn về cái phần này được không ạ?
The main point here is that look at what is happening to debt in the world economy. The main point is everybody is in big debt, okay? America's in debt, Europe's in debt, China is big debt, okay? And the only way to get out of that debt is to start printing money. So it's showing what can happen to gold. Now, gold is a good benchmark. And what this is saying is, this is basically illustrating that as the percent of debt in the US economy goes up from 50% of GDP to 100 to 150 to 200% to ultimately 250%, the black dotted line, so the gold price is going to match that. And this is what has happened to gold prices, in the last 20 years. The amount of debt in the US economy has increased by about 10 times. So between year 2000 and now, debt in America, public debt, has gone up 10 times, right? The gold price over the same period has gone up 12 times. The S&P 500 has gone up 5.5 times. So gold has been by far and away the best investment. So if you look out to the future, what this assumes is that gold only matches the increase in US debt. And that would say that the gold price has got to go from 5,000 to 10,000 to 15,000, 20,000, etc. This is strong gains in gold. Now, Bitcoin is exactly the same. And my view is that you don't own simply gold or silver. You have a basket of these hedges. You have Bitcoin, you have gold, you have silver, you have some equities, etc. These are going to be the best investments. And if that trend is so strong, which it will be, it's a good idea to buy into weakness. Think about the gold market. Gold has had a really strong 20-year period. Now, I could have said to you at different times, looking backwards, oh, well, you ought to be trading your gold, okay? But the lesson, by far and away, the clear lesson is, if you'd have bought gold at any time in the last 20 years on weakness, when it was at 1,500 or 2,000 or 1,800, you'd have made a lot of money just by buying gold on weakness. The same thing, if you'd have bought Bitcoin a year, maybe 18 months ago, when it was down at 40,000, you'd have made money. So these things are cyclical, and you get waves of enthusiasm and waves of pessimism. That's how financial markets work. But you've got to identify the trends. And our view is that the trend is strong, but the cycle is starting to impose negativity this year. The cycle is coming down temporarily, and that will mean there could be weakness. Now, this is simply saying we're setting a context. It may not happen. It may be that Bitcoin stays where it is. Who knows? But we think that will come under pressure because liquidity is being tightened, largely because the real economy in America is absorbing it. So that's the simple reason why buy into weakness. How would you do that? I think simply look at the chart of Bitcoin, look at the underlying trend, and take one standard deviation or about 25% limit below that. And if the price gets back to that level, then buy.
Câu hỏi tiếp theo là theo ông 5 năm tới bây giờ ông nhấn mạnh rất là nhiều về Bitcoin và vàng, tức là năm 2026 là có thể có những cái đợt để chúng ta mua Bitcoin và vàng với cái giá thấp, đúng không ạ? Và như ông nói, cái con số là 25% so với cái xu hướng chung của nó, và cứ lúc nào xuống như vậy là mua. Thế thì bây giờ cho tôi hỏi là theo ông 5 năm tới, tức là đến năm 2030 và một thập kỷ nữa đi là 2035 thì Bitcoin và vàng cái nào sẽ tăng nhanh hơn theo quan điểm của ông?
It's a very good question. I think the answer, my view would be probably Bitcoin. And the reason is this, is that I mean, both should do well, and I would recommend holding both. So generally you need both, but I think the best performer will be Bitcoin. And the reason for that is that if you think of every technology we can think of be it from television sets, mobile phones, washing machines, automobiles, they've all traced an S-shaped growth curve. So they've started slowly, they've accelerated, and then they've terminated. And if you look at Bitcoin, it's very, very low in the take-up. So in other words, very few people generally tend to have Bitcoin in their portfolios, but they probably should have some. Now, you've got that growth to come through, and that growth will be supplying increasing demand. So in my view, what you've had in Bitcoin is you've got, what are the attractions? Number one attraction is you've got big debt build-up in governments worldwide. So they have to monetize. So that means you've got lots of growth in liquidity in the long term. That's the main driver. The second driver is that you've got this S-shaped growth curve that is coming through. So more and more people are going to start using Bitcoin, or having Bitcoin in their portfolios. The only caveat I'll draw on that is that assumes that Bitcoin is going to maintain its integrity. And one of the fears that some people have is that the innovation in China of quantum computing is going to be so rapid and so immense that it will actually facilitate the cracking of some of these protocols that are used on the Bitcoin chain. That's possible. I'm not an expert enough to know that, but that's clearly one concern. And that's why with everything, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify. But I think that with that to one side, my view is that Bitcoin will be the better asset, or the stronger growth, and it's labored already relative to gold in the last 2 or 3 months. So it probably needs to catch up. So that would be my view. I mean, if you look at silver, silver is very elevated, but silver is always a very volatile metal. So, it's great for a speculation, but I'm not sure that silver is a good long-term investment unless you've got very, very good nerves. Gold and Bitcoin are going to be much better long-term